Welcome to the Dope Sheets, Just One Guy's Opinion. I'm Wayne Demers, and today I'll be giving you my take on Ghostbusters Afterlife that came out on November 19th. The movie is rated PG-13. It's 2 hours and 4 minutes long. It is released in standard format and in IMAX. I saw it in IMAX today, and I have to tell you, it was wonderful. I'm really happy I saw it in IMAX. You do need to know that there is a mid-credit scene and a post-credit scene. Post-credit scene being after all the credits are done, there's a scene at the end. And quite honestly, that may be my second favorite scene of the entire movie. So if you do go to the theater to see it, which, spoiler, I think you should, stay until the end, okay? Because there's a big part. It's actually a little bit of a lengthy post-credit scene, to be honest with you. But you'll be happy you did if you stay. So here's my non-spoiler portion of this review. The movie was directed by Jason Reitman, who is the son of Ivan Reitman, who was the director of the 1984 film Ghostbusters. Okay, so he's kind of following his father's footsteps, and this project, I think, was pretty dear to his heart because I believe he's also a contributing writer. Jason also directed the hit Juno. So if you saw Juno, oh boy, that's over a decade ago, which was a fabulous movie. If you haven't seen that and it happens to come across one of your streaming services, please give it a look. That was a very good film. Also of note, other writers are Gil Kennan. Again, I mentioned Jason Reitman and Dan Aykroyd. I'm glad that Dan Aykroyd was one of the writers here because this movie is very true to the original Ghostbusters story. Okay, so I'll get into that in a little bit here. Stars Finn Wolfhard. Finn Wolfhard is best known for Stranger Things, in It Chapter 2. He's been in a few other things, but I think those were the big three. He plays the role of Trevor. Then there's Mckenna Grace. Now, in my personal opinion, this girl steals the show. She is excellent. What do you know her from? She was in a movie that came out a few years ago called Gifted. And if you happen to be an Amazon Prime subscriber, she was in a movie called Movie Troop Zero. And in Movie Troop Zero, if you give that a chance, that was also a good movie. You'll see that she is an excellent actress. You can see it at such a young age. And I didn't even recognize her in this film until I came back home. And I'm like, who was that person? I'm like, holy cow, I remember her now. Excellent, excellent actress. I think we're going to see a lot of big things from her as she progresses through her career in Hollywood. I just felt like she pretty much stole the show of that movie. Best actress on the film. Then there's Carrie Coon. She was in the first season of The Sinner. Excellent series. I'm not sure what network that was on, and I believe there are 4 seasons. She was in the first season, and she was also in the movie Gone Girl. She was very good in both of those. Matter of fact, I thought she was excellent in The Sinner. I thought she was very, very good in that. And she plays Callie. She is the mother of Trevor and Phoebe. And then there's also Paul Rudd as Mr. Gooberson. Paul is in it. Well, he's in the movie for a significant amount of time, but not as much as I thought he was going to be honest with you. So, non-spoiler pros, positive things about the movie was this was a great sequel to Ghostbusters 2 and the original Ghostbusters, but Ghostbusters 2, it would have been a sequel. It gives us a backstory as to why we haven't heard from the Ghostbusters in a while. Why did it take so long for us to get another Ghostbusters movie? That is kind of told to us in this story. The movie was made in such a way that it still has an 80s vibe, the storytelling vibe or a movie-going vibe to it. And at times I actually started to think, hey, is Steven Spielberg involved with this? Because it kind of had his flavor to it at times. Again, I just told you who the star was, but I have to say who the person who did the casting, and I saw his name, I can't recall now, knocked it out of the park because everybody in this movie did a great job. So not only does Finn and McKenna provide an outstanding performance or performances, but the supporting cast members, they hold their own and they kind of enhance the roles played by or the characters Finn and McKenna. They really enhance their roles. Logan Kim is an actor. He plays the character Podcast in the film. This is his movie debut. And he's another one that I thought, wow, man, I don't know if I've ever seen this kid in anything before, but if not, we're going to be seeing him again because he was excellent. He provides the comedic element to the whole movie, and I just thought he knocked it out of the park. He was great. The story has action. Of course, it has comedy, and there's some drama. Sometimes, I will tell you, it'll pull at your heartstrings a little bit. This movie could have been this summer's big blockbuster, but I think because of the pandemic and the way that it's affected Hollywood and the release dates, Ghostbusters got pushed back, but this really had the feeling of a summer blockbuster to me. I really enjoy it. I had a really good time, and I think I told you the movie's 2 hours and 4 minutes, and I think that was just about the right length. If anything, there could have been a little bit more of a story at the very beginning. But, in the end, I think they did what they probably edited out what they really didn't need. So, I think the 2 hour, 4 minute runtime is about right. Fans of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 will no doubt feel right at home with this movie as it is true to the original cast and the car, because we already see that in the trailer, which I thought was excellent. And it pays homage to all of the cast members. Maybe Rick Moranis, I guess this is a true spoiler. Rick Moranis is not in the film, and I don't believe he's even referenced in the movie, his character. So, but I mean, I really feel like this was a well done continuation story for the fans of the original cast. Okay. Cons. Now, if I had to be a little picky here, there was one scene that I felt was kind of a cheat. I'll go into it a little bit more in the spoiler section of this review. But I just kind of felt like maybe the storytellers were at a roadblock. Like, how do we move this story along, or how do we bring in other characters into the story? And I felt like the way that they went about it kind of didn't fit the situation that they were in at the moment. So that was my first con, I think. Another con to the film was there are a couple appearances from actors that you probably could have gotten anybody to play it. It was a total waste of their talent. Okay. Again, not that they did a poor job or the writing was poor for them. Maybe they had a much bigger role before the movie was edited down. However, I just felt like, hey, even and one of the actors, I'm sure it's him, wasn't even credited. But, I'm going to have to watch the movie one more time and watch that post-credit scene. But I don't see where he's credited anywhere for being in the film. There were a few times that you just kind of have to let the story develop. There's something that seems out of place, or I don't know, just not you need a moment of disbelief and just kind of ride along with the story. Okay. Because if you really wanted to pick the film apart, yep. Okay. You could do that. But again, I feel like this is an 80s comedic telling of a continuation of Ghostbusters. So I just let it roll off and just kept going with the story. And, that's about it. So that's about it I have for cons. Okay. So why do we see so many poor reviews of this movie before it even came out. Okay, there are a lot on Rotten Tomatoes. It had a lousy, lousy score. I believe it was below 50%. But that's critic review. So I'm going to say, why don't we let the viewers, people like you and me who paid their price to go in and watch this film, okay, why don't we wait to see how they like the film? Because honestly, I loved it and I enjoyed it, and I think you will as well. And I think we'll see that the viewers, non-critic reviews, are going to be very, very positive. The only reason why I can even think that this movie got bad reviews is that we have the 2016 Ghostbusters movie, which basically was a retelling of Ghostbusters, but we're going to gender swap everybody. So if they were male in the first, they'll be female in this one. And if they were female in the first, they'll be male in this one. It was very much just a gender swap, and it was a lousy written movie, in my opinion anyway. And so there was a lot of backlash about that film because it was very evident that what the creators of the film were doing was pushing, women in the movies and pushing it down our throats to say, we're going to redo it, but we're going to gender swap everybody. So quite honestly, that's what I didn't care about that in that movie. It doesn't matter to me that there were women in the movie or women playing the roles. Quite honestly, that if it fits the story, it fits the story. But basically all you did was took Ghostbusters, retold the story with female actors, and you gave us a pile of garbage. Had the movie been written differently, or had you paid, had it still been some type of continuation of the original characters, the original cast, then I think that would have been totally fine. And I think people would have responded better to that film. But the fact that you were pushing that on us and we completely ignored the original movies is why that film got so much backlash. And I kind of feel like it's possible that the reason why this film is getting so much negative press is because there are those that have an agenda that they push, and this film doesn't bend their knee to the 2016 movie, doesn't even reference the 2016 movie, which I'm happy about. And so that might be why this film is getting negative reviews, because I thought that it was extremely fun. And I highly encourage you, if you've got nothing to do this weekend, or you have 2 hours and 4 minutes, or 3 hours or 4 hours, go and see the movie. I think you'll enjoy the movie just as much in standard version as you will in IMAX. But boy, in IMAX, there are a couple moments where the sound just rumbles your seat. And that was outstanding. It just made me enjoy the film that much more. So now I'll go into spoilers. Okay, so if you don't want to know any spoilers, or you don't want to hear any commentary about the fine details of the movie, or at least some of them, now's your time to stop and maybe come back and see what my opinion is after you've seen the movie. Okay, so please don't hate on me, because now we're going to go into spoilers. Okay. The characters Trevor and Phoebe, they are the grandchildren of Dr. Egon Spengler. Okay, now Egon Spengler was played by Harold Ramis, who passed away some time ago. And he, I believe, was also a writer of the original, I believe. And so we don't have him to portray Egon in this film. So Egon has passed away as well. And his daughter, Kaylee, is struggling to make ends meet. And she's been not had Dr. Spengler, Egon hasn't been in her life, so to speak. So she doesn't have very positive feelings about him. But yet he left her his estate and the grandchildren. And they decide to move into his house because they had really nowhere else to go. And so they move into the house. And They make friends with some of the locals, and then they find out that their grandfather or father was mostly known as the dirt farmer and was seen as a very eccentric person in the terms that he was very reclusive and he wanted odds and ends in town that were just kind of weird and people couldn't make heads or tails of. So as the time progresses in this house, the kids uncover the secrets of the property along with their friends Lucky and Podcast. Lucky is a love interest of the character Trevor. And Podcast is the schoolmate, classmate of Phoebe. And so they start to uncover some of Egon's secrets of his property, of his home, and also the community. Again, have no fear. The remaining original Ghostbusters make an appearance, as does the original Ecto-1. And I was very happy to see them. Very, very happy to see how that plays out. I'm not going to spoil it how it plays out, but you'll see the living original cast members in this film. Okay, which leads me to one of the cons that I mentioned earlier. So the kids are in town and then they get caught driving Ecto-1 and they're arrested and they're brought to jail. Okay, and so Phoebe wants to use her one and only phone call, and she ends up calling the phone number that was displayed on the ad that played in New York for the original Ghostbusters. Okay. So, who are you going to call? Here's the number. Call us. We'll, blah, blah, blah. So she calls that number. Why would she call that number? She wouldn't know if that number was still in existence. She doesn't try to ask to call her mom. It just didn't fit. And the conversation that she has with Dan Aykroyd answers the phone on the other end. And the conversation they have is, to me, just out of nowhere. Like, hey, I'm in jail. I need to get out. My grandfather was Egon Spengler and, I need your help. That to me was kind of more in line with what I thought we were going to get for a conversation. And that's not the conversation that happened, but it's needed because somehow, some way we need to make contact with the original Ghostbusters, right? Okay. So that is a con. That to me is a big shortcoming of the story. Again, I'll just let that fly off because I'm enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the movie. And so I just let it go. Secondly, the other thing I felt let down was the use of actors Bokeem Woodbine as Sheriff Domingo and actor J.K. Simmons, who was almost unrecognizable in this film. And he's on for such a short time that I almost didn't recognize him because he's made up. He's got so much makeup on it. But just at the last second, I recognized him. And in doing my preparation for this film, he's not even credited. He's not. IMDb doesn't have him listed under. If you look up the movie, he's not listed there, and if you look up J.K. Simmons, he's not listed. Ghostbusters isn't listed. Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I felt like anybody could have played those characters. There was really no need for them to be a part of that film, unless their characters hit the cutting room floor, and so we just didn't see what maybe. The story was the original, the story. Sometimes as you film everything, the story doesn't come together the way you want. Things get edited out for time or again, just disjointed storytelling. And every once in a while you'll get an actor that doesn't get any credit, any screen time. You won't even know they did any filming for the movie. So anyway, J.K. Simmons, I recognized him, but he came and went. So, then the villain in this movie is none other than Gozer. We saw Gozer in the first film, and Gozer is back for this film. They explain how Gozer is back in this film. And maybe you could say there's a little cheat here in that we have that same story played out. Are you the keymaster? Are you the gatekeeper? That whole thing. We get that all over again. Okay. So, but anyway, everything is entertaining. Everything is entertaining. Just kind of go with the flow. I enjoyed how I felt like the special effects were the same. If I had watched Ghostbusters or Ghostbusters 2 before I saw this, I easily would have made the comparison in the special effects in the way that they cross the streams and the backpacks and some of the special effects that happen in the sky. And I thought that is great that you kept the same special effects, because in today's world, it's very easy to go overboard on the special effects and try to improve upon special effects instead of just kind of accepting where they were then and just kind of make it go along with the story, which is what they did, and I enjoyed it. The best part of the movie for me was the final scene where we have the original cast is there, and this cast is there, and Gozer is there, and we have a nice little epic battle scene. And so that was my favorite scene in the film. I think it might be yours, or maybe it could be a ghost chase scene in the movie, which we also see in the credits. I'm sorry, not in the credits, in the trailer for the film. That was a fun and exciting scene as well. But my second favorite scene is the end credit scene, which really kind of pulls the whole story together, pulls the casting together, and possibly, maybe, leaves us that there could be a sequel to this film, which I hope there is, because at the end I felt like, wow, this was awesome. This was awesome. I loved how they wrote this. I love how everything was inclusive. Nothing was being shoved down my throat. Everything was working out fine. Who cares who did what? Who took? It didn't matter. We're all enjoying the story. And that end credit scene kind of really, it was a really good note to walk out of the theater on, which I have to say I feel bad, because out of a theater filled with maybe 100 people, which means that the theater wasn't even half full, there were only 4 people, me included, that stayed for the post-credit scene or after-credit scene. Only 4. And I felt like, wow, other than us, everybody that was in here missed out on this film, because this really kind of tied things and left you hanging with, will there be another? So anyway, overall, I love this movie. If I had to give it 1 out of 5 stars, I'd give it 4. If I had to give it 1 out of 10 popcorn kernels, I'd probably give it a 7.8 or an 8. I really enjoyed it, and I really think you'll enjoy it. So if you have time this weekend or over the week, especially with Thanksgiving coming up, hey, maybe you got time over Thanksgiving. This is a movie I think you can take your whole family to. Sit down, enjoy the film. I don't care if you have older kids or you have younger kids. If you enjoyed the original Ghostbusters, you and your family will enjoy this Ghostbusters. I think it was very well done. And hey, if you haven't introduced your kids to the movie Ghostbusters, this might be the time. This might be the movie where they say, hey, who were those older people and what's their backstory? And you'll have Ghostbusters 1 and 2 to show them. So anyway, again, I'm Wayne Demers. It's just one guy's opinion. Maybe you don't share my opinion. That's okay. I'd love to hear your opinion on the movie. Maybe there are things about it that I skipped over that maybe you agree or disagree with, and you could put those in the comments down below. And until next time, enjoy your Thanksgiving vacation, and I'll be seeing you again soon.